And
hello, everybody. Welcome. The bells have just chimed in Bowman Hall, so we know it's time to begin. I'm Catherine Frank. I'm the Chancellor at Stout, and I've been here approximately 5 months. I may have met some of you. I hope so, but I look forward to welcoming you back to campus on the 9th of September. So I have a lot of people joining me today, a lot of experts, and so let me tell you a little bit about the format of the presentation, and then I'll introduce folks. I'll give a little bit of background, and then you'll hear from specific areas. So there'll be a brief presentation followed by Q&A. We've received a lot of questions in advance, and what we've tried to do is work a lot of those questions into the presentation material. So we'll answer those as we go along, but the Q&A function is open, and please post your questions there. If we don't get to your question, we will post those questions, unanswered questions, and responses to them, along with the recording of the presentation by July 28th. We need to do a little bit of work behind the scenes to make it ready to post, get it ready to post, and we'll have it up there as soon as possible, but we're aiming for July 28th. There may be a slight delay between slides, so just bear with us. That's due to the technology. I'm going to begin now with an introduction of the folks who will be speaking this evening. These are people and their teams have been working really hard over the summer to get the campus ready to go on September 9th. Included among those individuals is Glenda Lee Rodriguez. She's our interim provost. She will be speaking about all things academic, and she's received a lot of your questions in advance. Sandy Scott, Dean of Students, all things students. As you know, Sandy is an expert on many areas of the institution and will be giving an overview of those. Jacqueline Bonneville will give us some information about housing. She is our interim director of university housing and what you can expect. Justin Cron, our director of university dining services, will give you a little bit of information about what you can expect with respect to dining on campus. Phil Lyons, Vice Chancellor for Administrative and Student Life Services, we'll talk about financial questions that you all had, as well as a little bit of information about facilities and recreation. And Amy Littmers is our Chief Marketing Officer, and she will give you some information about where you can go to ask questions and stay up to date on information as we get closer to fall. Just a little bit about how we've gotten to this point. As I've mentioned before, we know that classes begin on September 9th. We announced that we would be returning in a modified normal format back in June. A joint press release went out that included Stout, UW-Eau Claire, and UW River Falls, as we talked about expectations and planning for fall. Many of you have asked about the academic calendar. There are no changes to the academic calendar, and we anticipate that we will stay. We're hoping to stay in operation all the way through the end of fall semester. So classes are scheduled as they normally would be throughout fall semester, with, of course, an offerings spanning hybrid online and face-to-face format. I just wanted to let you know a little bit about the planning that has happened behind the scenes. There's a recovery planning steering committee. That is a committee made up of some key leaders across campus, oversee various units across campus, many of whom are represented here this evening. They oversee approximately 15 to 20 subcommittees across campus. So planning has involved hundreds of people across the university community. Those subcommittees meet on a regular basis, and they feed information up to the Recovery Steering Committee, and that allows for us to do comprehensive planning for the institution. We have weekly meetings. Prior to the formation of the Recovery Planning Steering Committee, back in spring, when we were at the height of this crisis, we convened what we called our pandemic planning team, which is a combination of our emergency operations team on campus with leaders from various key stakeholder groups across campus. So we expanded that emergency operations team slightly so that we were able to ensure that communication was as comprehensive and smooth as possible. And those, back in the spring, we were meeting daily for many hours a day. Those have now moved to monthly meetings that are again supplemented by the recovery planning steering team meetings. So lots of planning happening, lots of people involved in that planning. And again, many of those leaders are here this evening. So I'm going to turn things over to Glenda Lee Rodriguez, our interim provost, and she'll talk about all things academic.
Thank you. Thanks, Chancellor. So hi, everyone. My name is Glenda Lee Rodriguez, and I'm the interim provost. I started at Stout actually in 2005 as a professor in the construction program. So I've journeyed through Stout, and really I'm very excited to say that our faculty and staff are working really hard across our programs to really help launch the fall semester successfully and safely. So one of the things we've been doing is over the summer, I've been meeting weekly with our program directors and our department chairs. So that's over 80 people that are meeting once a week to just continue to talk about all of the different aspects of our fall planning. Our COVID-19 website for the university has continued to be our repository of information. So we have a faculty and staff portal there, we have student and family portal, and we're really trying to make sure information is very well communicated. Within the faculty and staff, we also have a lot of volunteers working in different subgroups. So I've highlighted some of the themes just to highlight at a high level. One group is working on technology, and that's coordinating with our LIT area on the technology, additional technology resources that we're putting into our classrooms to equip them for the fall, as well as plexiglass. So these are different types of accommodations we're making to also foster additional safety measures in our spaces. We also have a group working on our classroom cleaning and disinfecting protocols and PPE protocols, and they're working on creating syllabi language, creating a way to really coordinate and communicate the expectations. This is a key committee and involves a lot of different people from different disciplines because once again, we have different needs based on the different types of activities going on. We have another team working on classroom management, and that's really walking through the process of coordinating the information regarding in-classroom protocols and expectations for students. And we have our first week of class preparations committee. This has been the newest committee to form, and that group is really going to be making sure that our instructors have sort of thought through everything as they launch the fall semester and help with any other considerations that should take place. Next slide, please. So last week was a busy week for us to get communications out. Behind the scenes, though, we had been working pretty much since the end of May on planning for the fall. So last week, the communication went out that schedule changes had been made in Access Stout and that you could review those schedule changes. We've landed where there are 4 types of classes, and they're listed there, are in-person, which will still have virtual components to them, hybrid, online synchronous, and online. And I just want to talk a little bit about how we approached changing the schedule and what that entailed. The first thing that we did was conduct classroom density studies where we went space by space. There were groups of faculty and staff that worked on really understanding to maintain social distancing, what that would mean for the capacity and the interactions in our spaces. As a result of that information, it really showed us that we needed to decrease the traffic and density on campus. So we started conversations about a very strategic approach around this that both fostered safety and also student success across the very many different disciplines that Stout has as a polytechnic. So things that we considered were obviously the disciplinary ramifications of the courses. We also wanted to look at 2 really targeted student groups, our seniors who are so close, right, to finishing their degree. We don't want to delay that for you. We also were looking at our first-year students who are really starting their college experience and looking at those scheduled courses for our first-year students. We also were looking at the time to degree completion for all programs, trying not to create any bottlenecks with any of the changes that we were creating, and really trying to make this a very intentional exercise. So as I've noted, there are going to be expectations for different classroom protocols as a result of the safety measures that we're taking into place. This is also going to include just traffic flow within our buildings and our spaces. So we're working on having clear signage to really help navigate that. And as we prepare for this semester, as I mentioned, the instructors are working on communication plans for the students, but I would encourage that the students also will need to connect with instructors to really make sure your questions are being answered as it relates to different aspects of this new normal that we find ourselves in. So things around attendance policies, cleaning and disinfecting, how your instructors will remain available to you through office hours. We are encouraging instructors to hold office hours virtually to help with reducing density on the campus. And Stout is a lot about open labs, right? We have a very lab-based culture at Stout, and so we're working with their instructors. We're coordinating a way to schedule intentional use of open lab spaces that still abide by those reduced capacity results that we know of, and so that's more information will be coming around open labs and scheduling that in a very concerted way. Next slide, please. So in terms of how we prepared for the fall semester, we recognize that we were forced to pivot really quickly in the spring. We know that you had to, our instructors had to, and we have been very intentional this summer on providing professional development for our instructors. And the professional development is a series of modules with varying topics, but what I want to highlight, and it's virtual, so our instructors can take it regardless of where they're located, but it's about teaching in flexible formats and across different disciplines. We had student feedback from our COVID-19 survey that was released to the campus in April. Hopefully you participated in that. We had feedback gathered from students via that mechanism, and we also gathered feedback from our faculty and staff. We also held focus groups with instructors from very lab-based courses to talk about how could we do this even better in the fall. So that really informed our professional development, which also launched this last week. So we had several stakeholders working on those professional development modules and sessions for our faculty and staff. And the last thing I want to highlight is that we also created very intentional cohort models for general education. So for students that were unclear or unsure about coming to campus, we want to try to still continue to build community, even if it has to be virtually, through some of our general education offerings that we've packaged. And so there's more information if you have any questions on that opportunity, just another way to connect with students and build community and still take proceed to take credits towards your degree completion. So with that, I'll turn it over to Sandy.
Thank you, Glenda, and good evening, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Want to talk a little bit about what the student experience is going to be like outside of the classroom when you're here this fall, and want you to know that all of the decisions that we've made, and I can certainly understand with the vast majority of you being returning students, how it might appear to be a question of, boy, that seems really restrictive. The decisions that have been made have all been made with the interest of the safety and health of our community, our students, faculty, and staff in mind. And so please, I encourage you to think about that and reflect as I talk about some of the things you'll be able to expect on campus this fall. And as returning students, you also know that with the freedom and independence that comes when you come to college, there's also responsibility. That hasn't changed. There will still be opportunities for you to exercise that independence, but there are also some additional responsibilities when it comes to maintaining the safety of our campus. There will be opportunities for both virtual and in-person community development. I know one of the questions that we've gotten already is about student organizations, and I'm happy to say that tomorrow through Loop and Connect, 700 of our student leaders are going to get information about how you can hold events successfully this fall. There have been some changes, and we need to follow all of the guidelines I'm going to talk about. but yes, you will be able to hold in-person events as well as virtual meetings and events. What also has not changed is the convenience of being on campus and the opportunity to have a number of resources at your fingertips. So while there will be changes, there are some things that have remained the same. First, want to just give you a couple details as you prepare for fall. If you're a residential student, you should know that every residential student is going to get 2 masks, a digital thermometer, as well as made by our very own Stout students, a door puller that you can use, keep on a lanyard or on your backpack so that you don't have to touch a door handle and can use that to be able to open a door. For our off-campus students, we haven't forgotten about you, and you will also receive 2 masks and a digital thermometer. We're going to be revising and revisiting Knock and Talk. We're not going to be able to come to you in an off-campus setting, but you'll be able to come to the Sports and Fitness Center. More information coming on that, where not only can you pick up your masks and your thermometer, but we're going to have lots of other information about how you can have a safe and healthy fall semester. So please make sure that you watch for that. The first week of classes, there will be multiple opportunities for you to come get that information and those items. So let's really focus on what can you expect. I know you've probably heard about some of this or read about some of it, so we want to fill in the gaps that may exist for you. It will be about masks, it will be about social distancing, it will be about testing and contact tracing, and about symptom monitoring. So let's talk about masks. That seems to be prevalent for a lot of folks. Masks will be required on campus in the classroom. They will be, if you're living on campus, they will be expected to be worn in the residence halls, with the exception of when you're in the privacy of your room or in the bathrooms. And on campus. So we know that you want to be back face to face. We know we want to be here. And part of that is the recognition that we know masks can help us meet that goal of being here face to face. You also may know that the Board of Regents for the University of Wisconsin system did pass a resolution with guidelines. And so this is an expectation regarding masks and social distancing on all the UW system campuses, not just at Stout. And I also know, having been the dean here for a few years now, that our students rise to the occasion. And so I'm really hopeful that when it comes to masks, we can build a culture of cooperation where our students recognize that the way that we support one another as Blue Devils is by doing what's expected of us to help keep our community safe and healthy. So I'm hopeful that we won't have to engage in consequences, but I'm sure you all know, especially if you're a returning student, that there's any number of areas where if you're not following through on expectations, there can be consequences for behavior. And that's similar to masks. So of course, we're about education first, and we will work with the student to make sure that they are educated around the value and the importance of masks. And if that effort fails and other efforts to gain cooperation fail and we have to move to progressive discipline, we will. But again, I think that will be very rare, and it will only be after we've had opportunities to really help students understand why this is important. It's part of that responsibility that comes with freedom and independence. Also want to talk about testing. I know there's been a lot of questions about testing. Student Health Services is able to test on this campus, and we will be able to get the results back, at least right now, within 24 to 48 hours in working with partnership with one of our clinics and labs here in town. So we are only testing at this time, again, and this is with the guidance from the State Department of Health as well as our local public health department. We are testing symptomatic students only once we open again in the fall, as well as, if appropriate, individual who has been directly exposed to someone who tested positive for COVID-19. So we are geared up to do that testing on campus. It's at low or no cost. As many of you likely know, we bill your insurance company, at least right now, insurance companies have been covering that cost. So the COVID testing that has been occurring has been at no cost for the individual. So We also will be working in partnership with public health to, when we do have a positive case, to find out everywhere that student has been so that we can engage in what's called contact tracing and do our due notification to others who may have been exposed. So our plan is to work in partnership with public health on contact tracing. And what we ask of our students is if you are contacted, that you cooperate and share that information. Again, that's part of the responsibility in ensuring that we're doing everything we can to keep this community healthy. We have two sort of areas that we'll be using, or two strategies, again, recommended and in consultation with public health for individuals who may have been exposed or to test positive. Self-isolation is when you have tested positive and the need to self-isolate. And so we have some spaces set aside for that. Should you test positive, be a residential student, test positive, and need to self-isolate. We also have spaces set aside for self-quarantine. Self-quarantine is when you have not tested positive, but you may have had direct contact, and it's being recommended by public health or a healthcare provider that you self-quarantine. Oftentimes right now, that's up to 14 days. When that happens in self-isolation, you really can't leave that location. In self-quarantine, you're asked to only leave for essential travel, which would be defined as a doctor's appointment or an appointment with a medical or picking up medication. Usually in self-quarantine, hopefully you're not going to be sick. And so while you won't be going to class, the expectation is you're communicating with your faculty member about the fact that you're self-quarantining, and then you're staying up to date with your homework and your schoolwork. You'll just have to be doing that from that virtual space until you're cleared to be able to go back. So we are, again, I can't emphasize enough how much these conversations are in consultation with public health to do everything we can when we fully expect there will likely be someone who tests positive. And so we have protocols in place to be able to move and protect them as well as the rest of the community. Meal delivery will be able to occur if you're in either one of those spaces, and our Director of Dining Services will talk more about that. I also just want to mention symptom monitoring. And I know many of you as returning students are familiar with the Connect app, especially if you're an involved student leader. And in Connect, we have a symptom monitoring worksheet, and we are asking students that they monitor daily, and we're giving you a thermometer to help with that. You monitor yourself for any symptoms, and of course, if you do have symptoms, then we ask that you contact Student Health Services, and they will give you information on what you should do should you be showing any symptoms that could potentially be that. One of the most important things you can do prior to the start of the fall semester, if you have the opportunity, we really encourage you to get the flu shot if you have not done that, because we are trying to help our health partners recognize what could be occurring this fall and winter, which might be an outbreak of the flu as well. So we're hoping to have a clinic on campus, but haven't finalized details for that as of yet. And want to acknowledge that we know that this is a really stressful time for all of us. Anytime it seems to be chaotic and a little bit challenging, anxieties really rise. And so there are many, many resources on campus to help you. Student Health Counseling Center will still be providing counseling services. Some of those will be in a telehealth format, but they also will have some staff on campus. And new this year is the Silver Cloud app. Sometimes students don't necessarily need to see a therapist, but they need resources right at their fingertips to be able to work through some of the anxieties. And so there will be information coming out about Silver Cloud, which is available right on your phone 24/7 to you, and how you can use that. We are asking with Student Health, which is always closed in the summer and will open when classes start, that you do always call ahead. Again, part of our efforts to do what we can to control illness. So I want to also talk a little bit about laptop distribution. In the event we have any new students or families joining this particular forum, if you're a new student, your laptop will be mailed to you the second week in August, or might be a little overlap with the third week, but you will get an email asking for the address to send your laptop to. For our upper class students who get the refresh, which that is primarily our junior class, For those students, they are still working out details, but there will be a several-week opportunity where you can set up an appointment to come in and get your laptop refreshed over in the MSC. So more information coming to you on that. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to our Interim Director of University Housing, Jacqueline Bonneville, who will talk through more information related to the move-in process.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. For many of you, you are returning students and you've already been through this process, but I want to highlight how move-in is going to look different for you this fall. The week of August 3rd, students are going to receive an email from us where you're going to get a time and a date to go into Connect and actually select a move-in time. Your move-in time will be between August 29th and September 6th. This email will include how to sign up and how that process will work. Students who live further away will have an earlier time that they can select than those who live closer. We strongly encourage students to bring your belongings, get your room set up, and then return home if at all possible. We ask students to return on their own, and for returning students, you really don't need to be back until the first day of classes. For brand new students, we ask that you come back on Sunday, September 6th between 3 and 7 p.m. when you can be dropped off. About 2 weeks prior to your actual move-in date and time, you will receive an email with detailed move-in directions and a reminder. Move-in will include a 2-hour unloading time, directions on receiving your ID, although many of you should have your ID at this time, how to pick up your textbooks, and then a chance to get your room set up. We have a video currently on our housing site, the Housing COVID Update website, if you'd like to watch about a 3-minute video about how move-in will look this year. In light of the current situation, unfortunately, staff will not be assisting you with physically moving your belongings, which we know you've experienced other years. We will have carts available on a first come, first served basis if you choose and you live in a building that has an elevator like North, McElmont, CKTO, Fleming Havlet, or Red Cedar. If a student is not able to return home and you need to stay once you've moved in, please know that the dining options will be limited and there will not be any social activities planned during this time. Our hope is that this new process will give students a time to set up their room with the assistance of their friends and or family. If a student has a roommate, we ask that you connect with that roommate to make sure you're selecting different move-in times to assist with social distancing. We're now going to go into the next slide just to talk about housing policies and how that has all changed. All students who are living on campus received an email from University Housing on July 6th outlining the expectations of students living on campus this fall. We realize that it's difficult to imagine how this all works, and I want to assure you that as we made these decisions, we are working closely with Dunn County Health Department as we made the decisions. As Sandy said, masks are required in the residence halls also, so unless you're in your individual room or in the bathroom brushing your teeth or taking a shower, you'll need to have your mask on. Guests are not permitted at this time. Only students and staff assigned to individual buildings will be allowed to enter those buildings. Our staff will be working with students through discussion and education first and foremost. Our belief is that students will want to keep their communities safe and are willing to do their part. If the conversations don't work, we will have to move to an enforcement using our housing and university policies if necessary. We have worked hard to de-densify our bathrooms and will be increasing the times that they are cleaned. Laundry services will also be available to students, and we will provide you with wipes to disinfect the machines before and after each of your uses. Students are expected more than ever to keep their rooms reasonably cleaned. We have received a lot of questions about quarantine regarding travel and how you arrived to campus. So let me first say that we've had some questions from parents about if you're allowed to visit your student. And you are allowed to visit your student, just not in the residence hall. And your student may travel home. Again, we know that travel can invite exposure into our community. So we're going to continue to share with you the guidance of our health department. We sent information 2 weeks ago asking students to tell us how they plan to arrive on campus. If you are coming from a hotspot, and we realize that what today's hotspots are could be different in 5 weeks than they are from now, but you are advised to quarantine at home for 14 days before coming to campus if you are able. We are not able to monitor the travel of each student and will continue to do our part to share the expectations and recommendations of the health officials. My last slide today is actually about community development, and I want to assure you we will still have professional and student staff living in the building to assist with operations and community development in our living communities. The staff will be working to build community through virtual tools while maintaining social distancing. As I discussed with our new families, I am also a parent getting ready to send my first child to campus this fall. And I want to fully recognize the stress and uncertainty of these times and how this experience will be different than maybe what we remembered last year or how we might remember it to be or imagine it to be. Each family will need to make the decision of what works best for them. For those who will be living on campus, I want you to know that I have done this work for 26 years and students still continue to amaze me in the ways in which they discover how to connect and make the most of not so ideal situations. I expect that to be the same said for this fall. We will maintain many of our traditional efforts to build community and new perspectives and strategies. Our student staff will continue to create connections with and among their residents through routine and intentional dialogues. Our goal is to connect students to one another and our campus resources in hopes that they will be successful. Each building will have a hall leadership committee comprised of students who will work with your hall staff to plan virtual events and involvement opportunities for their peers. Additionally, we have 5 leadership assistants who will be placed throughout campus that will help organize campus-wide events, leadership development opportunities, and our care package program. We know that you have many questions, so I want to highlight our email, housing@uwstout.edu. Please send us questions that you have and we will be sure to get back to you. Now I'm going to hand it over to Justin to hear more about dining. Thank you.
Justin, you're muted.
My mic is muted. Of course, I've got to be the one to do it. Okay. Well, greetings, everyone. As I was saying, as I was muted, we are really excited in Team Dining to get you all back to campus. We've been working really hard on our organization and the things that are going to be keeping you safe. So what I'm going to try to do is give you a snapshot of what dining is going to look like here in the fall. First off, I'm going to talk about cafeteria dining. I've gotten quite a few questions about, how will that look and what will be available. So, as you know, both Commons and North Point cafeterias on campus will be open, but one of the changes is that it'll only be open to students who are living on campus and on the baseline. And all these students will be given the opportunity to learn how to navigate those operations when they return to campus. I want to talk about some of the options that will be available in our cafeteria operations. A lot of your favorites will still be here. You'll have grill, pasta, pizza, tacos, breakfast, a lot of those kitchen classic entree salads, because we've been getting a lot of questions about the salad bar. You will have salad options available for you, deli sandwiches, and all these entrees will include a vegetable and a starch, and you'll also get 2 additional sides, desserts, and beverages. For those who are living on campus, everybody will be issued a reusable takeout container and cup, which you can use to either dine in or carry out at your convenience. And if you dine in, those can be returned to the dish room as you leave, or you can also return those when you visit us again in the cafeteria. All of our areas in our dining operations will be marked for social distance, including all of our tables, chairs, our queuing lines when you're entering our buildings, and also in our satellite locations and lounge spaces. All of our operations will have enhanced cleaning schedules. We also have put in tap to pay systems, which will also be available in all of our locations. We did convert one of our retail locations in the Commons, our Commons Express, into a cafeteria express location, which will have deli sandwiches and entree salads available to expand that variety for the students who are living on campus and on the baseline plan. Also, I want to note for those baseline holders, and those living on campus that they will also have options in retail locations, which we've never done before, just to build that value and that variety, and also so you can get food all around campus and still get your baseline prices. Baseline prices will remain the same throughout the entire year. With that too, we will still have vegetarian and vegan options available, and our special diet pantry will be available for those who have a medically diagnosed special diet need. For those who may be sick or isolating or in quarantine, we will be offering what we call recovery meals. And you can go online and sign up for these meals, and we will deliver them to your dorm, and then the housing staff will deliver them to your room. You will get information on that as you come back to campus. Now I'm going to talk about our retail locations a little bit. Our retail locations will be open for on and off campus students. Again, our menus have changed in some of these locations to facilitate quick service, to alleviate those long lines for people. So I think that's going to be a really good advantage coming back here in the fall. Our retail locations, you can utilize your flex line, baseline, block plans, cash or credit in these locations. Excuse me. We're also going to have a Transact mobile ordering app. You can download this app on your mobile device, and you can order ahead, pay ahead, and then pick up. This is going to be great. So there'll be little to no waiting in line. You'll be able to pick up your food either in the Price Commons, at the Student Center, or North Point operations. Again, if you have any questions on dining, you can go to our website and just hit that Contact Us button and go ahead and ask us those questions. We are here for you. You can also see our guidance and planning page also on the dining website. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Phil.
Phil, you're muted.
I did it too. Thank you, Justin. Good evening, everyone. My name is Phil Lyons, and I'm the Vice Chancellor for Administrative and Student Life Services. You know you've hit the home stretch when you get into the financial questions, so I'm going to be answering a few of those and then some things on facilities and recreation. We'll start with probably the most common question I get, and that's about, will my tuition be reduced? And this is really a system-wide philosophy and a system-wide stance. Whether we provide online, hybrid, or in-person classes, we're going to continue to deliver a high-quality learning experience for our students in accordance with the tuition set by the legislature. The biggest expense to any course is the quality of the faculty member that's behind the instruction. And really, whether that faculty member is teaching online or hybrid or face-to-face, you're still going to get the same quality, very high quality instruction from that faculty member. And then on to fees. There's no plan for across-the-board reduction for segregated fees. And what's a segregated fee? It's those fees for service, health services, recreation, campus card, student activities, things like that. And the reason is that there continues to be structural costs that are associated with those activities to maintain those student services and the facilities that are attached to them. In addition, we're really striving to take those activities, services, and make them COVID friendly. So we're going to be offering them just in a COVID-19 friendly way. And at the present time, there's no plans to refund housing or dining fees. And that really is because we do not have a plan to send students home. In the spring, we did do housing and dining fees, but students were sent home at week 8, and we plan on being open the entire semester. So we don't have a plan on refunding housing or dining fees. One of the things that we are really doing, and it adds to the expense, is we're creating that safe environment. And I just wanted to highlight 3 areas that we're really striving to make the environment as safe as can be. So we are using additional cleaning protocols. We're cleaning more often. We're cleaning with industrial cleaning agents, Virex Plus and Oxifer. These are hospital quality sterilization cleaning agents that really do the job and kill the virus. We're also really focusing on social distancing, and you'll be able to tell because the campus will look a little bit different. Our student center, our service centers have all been redesigned. There's signs that really guide the users. You need to stand here. And it focuses on keeping that social distance between people if they are in lines like Justin was just referring to. And then finally, air handling and ventilation. We've had a lot of questions about air handling. And we are changing out our filters, and we're putting in special M13 filters. They are a much higher quality filter that is recommended by the CDC. We're also, by CDC recommendations, increasing fresh air that's coming into the buildings, and that keeps the ventilation moving, which is one of the recommendations and the things that will keep everyone very safe. And finally, recreation and the fitness centers. Our facility is currently open for business, and social distancing will be enforced. Like I said, we are kind of recrafting some of the things that we do for services and recreation programs and fitness is no exception. We're socially distancing the cardio area, and I'll kind of give an example of what we're doing there. We are designing an app that students will be able to go on and reserve a time to use any of the weights, the running machines or the treadmills and the ellipticals. There'll be a 45-minute time period that the students will be able to use those. And then when they're done with the machine, they flip a card over. It shows that that machine was used. We come in, we clean the machines all up, and it's ready for the next person. We've distanced those machines as well, and we've moved them into some of the gymnasium area. And so we're going to be waiving the additional fitness fee to be able to provide even more service to the students. And then finally, contact intramurals. We're going to be doing some intramural programs differently, but those contact intramurals like the basketball, the decision's pending, but it's very unlikely that we'll be able to do that because of the physical contact. But we're going to be designing other things in intramurals to replace those. And I believe that that is my last slide, and I will turn it over to Amy Littmers to take it home. Amy.
All right, I'm the closer. So we'll be ending tonight's presentation portion of the forum by, I just want to provide a brief highlight of some of the ways that you can stay in the loop and continue to receive updates as things can shift, and we have new updates for you. As all the panelists said tonight, it's really important that you check your email, students, on a regular basis, because that's going to be the #1 way that we continue to keep in touch with you, as well as when school starts with the Campus Life Today e-newsletter. And then if you have specific questions that you're looking for answers to, the first place you should go is the COVID-19 website. We're updating that on a daily basis. And in addition to the main COVID website, there are links to subsites for specific areas that have changes to how they're operating, like some of the areas that we've talked about tonight that go into great detail. So always start there if you're looking for an answer. We are also posting updates on all the social media channels, and we do answer all the questions that we get, either direct message or on the site in those venues as well. You can also pose a question directly using the COVID-19 update email, and that will get sent directly to the appropriate expert that can get back to you with the answer to your question. And then finally, because I'm a parent myself of a college student, I know that sometimes as parents, we feel a little out of the loop on what things are going on. We did develop over this past year, even pre-COVID, but it's coming very handy now, a new newsletter for families that comes out once a month called Stout Fam. And if you go on the website and just search Stout Fam, you'll get directed to the page that's on the slide here, or you can use the URL that I have there. And if you sign up, we will keep you in the loop once a month and special updates as needed. And if you decide you don't want to receive those at any time, you can opt out. But I would highly encourage families to sign up for that so that you can stay in the loop. And with that, I'm going to turn things back over to our moderator, Meredith, for the Q&A section.
Good evening, everyone. We have about 15 minutes for your questions, and we'll start with a question about student support. What kinds of support will we provide to students for online learning?
So I can start by answering that. So as part of the resources that I mentioned earlier on, we are actually also creating resources for students. So we have a self-enroll Canvas class for students that's housed in that same portal, the Canvas environment where all of our classes are, but it's intentionally for students so they can learn how to navigate and be more successful within that platform. We've also developed a series of tip sheets that were created by students for students. So we have those resources available as well, and those are linked off of the COVID-19 website. And I would say in addition, we will continue to have tutors available on our campus, both virtually and hopefully continuing in person. So you have different options to connect with students as well. So communications are really important. Communicate with your instructor and your advisor. We're happy to provide additional supports through communicating with you.
Thank you. There are a number of questions related to the different types of course modalities. So could you say more about what both the face-to-face and hybrid courses will look like? And in particular, there's two specific questions. One would be how many students will be in a face-to-face class? And will some of the lecture classes still be held in person?
Yeah, those are great questions. So I might need you to repeat some of those, Meredith, but I'll try to take them one by one. So the number of students that will be in a class, that's going to be pretty specific to the location and the type of the class. So our density studies looked at lab spaces, general assignment spaces, and so there's differences there. And how that's going to be coordinated is going to be driven by the instructor. So we have several examples going on that I'm aware of so far. So in some cases, because we've shifted some classes online, we might have adjacent rooms that are available to house some of our students and split the class up with the instructor then walking in between the classes. So where there were space abilities to do that, that's being explored. In some other cases, we have classes that meet perhaps Tuesday, Thursday. So the instructor will coordinate if it's a certain group of the class meeting on Tuesday and the other on Thursday. And then there's other creative ways that we're doing this. So it really will be very specific to the type of course, the type of activity, and how that's handled. Depending on the discipline, we still do have some lecture classes that are still going to be in person, so that it is occurring. We're really trying where we could to offer options to students for either online or face-to-face, and sometimes online synchronous and other options. And I know there were some questions about what online synchronous means. And what that means is that it's a class that has a scheduled date and time for the instructor and students to connect. The class is taught online, but there's very intentional times that are coordinated for those interactions to occur. Did I answer all the questions, Meredith?
You did, and you even got into the next question about online versus online synchronous. So, great segue. So on that topic about online courses, could you talk about the level of interaction with students in the online courses? Specifically, would they be self-paced or would there be interaction throughout the semester?
That's a great question. And so once again, I think it's a little bit varied, right, depending on the type of the course. But the difference I would say between a synchronous class and a class that's listed as online is that the online class has asynchronous aspects to it. So meaning that it is a little bit more self-paced, that there will be things that you can do and log in to do, and there'll be particular deadlines and other factors and expectations by the instructor, but that very intentional meeting time would not be coordinated the way a synchronous online class would be held. So I think the question is how those interactions will occur. And so that's some of the training and professional development that we're offering this summer, where we're showing examples of how engaging students can still occur in a virtual format. Much like our meeting tonight, which is on Microsoft Teams, there's ways to have more interactive environments and then other aspects of online instruction as well.
Thank you. Changing to a different topic, there are a few questions about athletics and recreation. So starting with athletics, do we know if athletic programs will be offered this fall, and who makes those decisions?
So no decision has been made yet regarding fall athletics. We're in discussion. It's the WIAC chancellors, the Division III chancellors, who will be making the decision based on fall athletics. And we're looking very closely at NCAA guidelines and having lots of conversation about the best course of action for fall. And so as soon as that decision is made, it will be communicated out to our athletes and our broader stakeholders.
Thank you. And in the area of recreation, there was a clarifying question wanting to confirm then if the use of the fitness center is free. And then also if we know if the climbing wall and group classes will be offered.
So I will start with some of the group classes. Yes, we are planning on having a number of group classes still offered, small groups, and also using the social distancing. Those would be held in the West Gym. Yes, the fitness membership, because we're going to be using other areas of the fitness center, we will not be charging the additional fitness fee for that. And that's in part because we know that some of the intramural programs would not be able to be run in some of those areas. And so we're moving some of those, the cardio machines into those areas to allow for things that can be used in a socially distanced way. So yes, the answer to that is yes.
Thank you. Our next question is related to dining. What kinds of food options are available for off-campus students, and particularly those that have dietary restrictions?
Yes, absolutely. Off-campus students are available to dine in all of our retail locations across campus. So that would include the Fireside Cafe, Blue Devil Market, Jarvis Express, Harvey Express. And if they have special dietary needs or restrictions, they can feel free to contact a registered dietitian on campus who could help them navigate what we can do to best meet their needs while they're dining with us on campus.
Thank you. Could you talk more about how the laptop return and exchange process will work this year?
Sure, and a lot of those details are still being worked out, but the intent is that I believe they're going to be using the ballrooms in the student center, and there will be approximately a 3-week period. They actually are intending to start that before classes start, and then go through either the 2nd or 3rd week of classes. And they are going to have students sign up for a time. I'm not sure how they're doing that, but students will get notification that they should sign up for a time to come to the ballroom to do the laptop exchange refresh program.
Thank you. How will off-campus students receive their masks and thermometers?
Yeah, so you know that many of you probably know that Knock and Talk, which was when various members of the administrative team, faculty and staff would visit off-campus students and share some information by showing up at their apartment, knocking, and sharing information about how to have a safe fall after welcoming them back to campus. For health reasons, we're not going to do that this year. So we've been able to make arrangements for, and the exact dates and times to be finalized, but it will be that whole first week of classes. In sports and fitness, there will be tables set up. And you will not have to sign up for a time for that. We'll be able to manage that because we'll have a significant blocks of time where students can come in between classes, and they'll be given a bag there, which then they can go around to each table, and you will get your masks, your thermometer, and lots of other great information that you will want to pay close attention to there.
Thank you. Could you say more about how returning students will get their IDs?
Returning students can actually, if you need a new ID, you can go ahead and actually Campus Card is open now, normal business hours. So you can certainly head over there, as well as once the year starts, again, because not everyone needs a new ID, you can just go up. They'll have all the social distancing guidelines in place over outside of the Campus Card office. But if you happen to be around this summer, you can take advantage of doing that anytime.
Thank you. Just a quick time check here. We have a few minutes left this evening. If a student decides to be part-time this fall, will that have any impact on their ability to go back to full-time in the spring semester?
The one thing I would mention with doing that is if you are a student who receives financial aid, it's going to be really, really important that you check with financial aid about any potential implications for you in your individual situation should you choose to go part-time instead of full-time. We can't comment on those specific kinds of situations, so you really do need to contact them. But other than that, there shouldn't be anything else that you would really need to think about from a detailed perspective that could prevent you from moving from part-time to full-time.
Okay, thank you. There are a couple of questions about the move-in process. Could you say more about how that works and specifically what the role of the UW-Stout staff will be in that?
Absolutely. So move-in day, like many of you as returning students had taken advantage of, was usually a one-day kind of event. And so for this fall, we are spreading that over 9 days. Again, families and students will sign up for their individual time to arrive on campus. The video really walks you through this. So again, I encourage you to watch that on the Housing COVID Update website, the 3-minute video that just kind of walks you through kind of what that looks like. But you'll start in the parking lot, get your stuff for unloading. You'll be able to pick up your textbooks, your ID if you have not already done so, those sorts of things. Our student staff, I think, is maybe what the question is. Again, there will not be staff helping move your items physically into the room. We will have staff that will be in the parking lots checking people in, and we are hiring kind of a move-in crew to help with that assistance right now. It just looks different than it has before. But at the same point that people are moving in, our student staff is already training and involved in training most of the day in terms of their roles that begin once we get started on September 6th. So hopefully that answers the question.
Thank you. And we have time for one more question, which is there a possibility that the modality that courses are currently being offered will change between now and the start of the semester?
So we worked really hard, right, to plan based on everything we know, and those changes were announced very comprehensively and through a lot of communications last week. If anything were to change, we would approach it in the same way. Well, we will over communicate and let you know as those changes are made. So I did see a question in the chat as to trying to determine how a student who's asking, how do I know what modality my classes are in? So those schedules are available in Access Stout. So please make sure you log in and you check your schedule because all of those changes are posted now. And that was announced last week. The communication went out on Thursday. And so if any changes were to arise, we would do our best to notify you very intentionally and over communicate that like we did last week.
Okay, thank you. So we are at 8 o'clock, so we're out of time here this evening, but just a reminder that we will be writing out responses to the questions that we didn't get to this evening, and we will be sharing that with you. So thanks again for spending this hour with us, and we will end there.